3 minutes. That is roughly how long it takes to brew a single cup of tea, to send a quick text message to a friend, or to fold a small load of laundry. It is a remarkably short amount of time, something most of us would not even think twice about losing to a minor distraction or a momentary pause in our day. And yet, within that same 3-minute window, something truly fascinating and profoundly important can happen inside your body. Within 3 minutes, your blood pressure can shift from a number that causes genuine concern, a number that might have been sitting in the back of your mind causing quiet worry, to a number that falls perfectly within the normal, healthy range. Not through medication, not through intense exercise or drastic dietary restriction, not through any special breathing technique or expensive supplement, but simply through an understanding of how your own body is designed to work. That is not a marketing claim. It is not wishful thinking. It is physiology. It is the way your nervous system, your heart, and your blood vessels have been communicating with each other since the day you were born. And understanding that simple 3-minute window might be one of the most useful, empowering pieces of cardiovascular knowledge you will ever carry with you. Let me start with something that continues to surprise me. Even after years of practicing cardiology and talking with patients every single day. Most people believe that their blood pressure is a fixed number, something similar to their height or their shoe size. They believe that if they walk into a doctor's office and the cuff gives a reading of 145/92, that number is simply who they are. It becomes a label, a diagnosis, a quiet verdict that follows them through their day. They believe that lowering it naturally requires dramatic suffering, bland food, hours of exercise they do not have time for, and a level of discipline that feels unrealistic for anyone with a normal, busy life. And they believe that if natural approaches do not work quickly, the only real solution is medication, something they might feel ambivalent about or want to delay for as long as possible. I want to gently challenge all of those beliefs because, based on the evidence and based on how your body actually functions, they are incomplete. And in some cases, they are entirely wrong. Here is what most people do not realize. Your blood pressure is not a static number. It is a dynamic, moment-to-moment conversation between your brain, your nervous system, your heart, and your blood vessels. That conversation changes depending on whether you are rushing or resting, whether you have just eaten or have been fasting, whether you are warm or cold, whether your bladder is full or empty, whether you are sitting with your legs crossed or your feet flat on the floor, whether you have just had a frustrating conversation or a peaceful one. All of these variables and many more influence that number. And here is the insight that changes everything. Much of what we call high blood pressure in everyday clinical practice is not actually a disease of the heart or the blood vessels. It is normal blood pressure measured under abnormal nervous system conditions. In other words, if you measure yourself when your body's natural stress response is even mildly activated, you will get a reading that looks like hypertension. But that reading may not reflect your true resting pressure, and treating that reading as if it is your permanent reality leads to confusion, frustration, and often giving up on natural approaches before they have had a fair chance to work. I want you to really sit with that idea for a moment because it is counter to almost everything we hear about blood pressure. We are told to monitor it regularly, which is excellent advice, but we are rarely told how to monitor it correctly. We are told to lower it naturally, but we are rarely told which natural interventions actually target the root cause rather than just chasing symptoms. And we are almost never told about the hidden role of time itself. Those 3 quiet minutes that separate a stressed reading from a resting one. By the end of this video, you will understand 5 specific, cardiologist-backed steps to lower your blood pressure naturally. But more importantly, you will understand the underlying mechanism that makes those steps work. You will learn why your morning reading might be misleading you, and what time of day actually gives you the most useful information. You will discover a common after-dinner habit that could be silently raising your numbers without your awareness. You will learn about the position of your body while you sleep, something most blood pressure advice never mentions, and how that single variable can influence your pressure more than reducing salt for some individuals. And you will walk away with a clear, calm mental model for how to think about your blood pressure that has nothing to do with fear or shame or medical anxiety, and everything to do with clarity, curiosity, and small, sustainable adjustments. I also want to address something that does not get talked about enough in conversations about natural blood pressure management. There is often an unspoken judgment attached to this topic. If you have high blood pressure, the implication can feel like you must be doing something wrong, eating the wrong foods, not exercising enough, failing in some personal responsibility. I want to be very clear about this. That is not true, and that framing is not helpful. Genetics play a real role. Age plays a real role. Life circumstances that are completely outside your control play a real role. The purpose of natural strategies is not to make you feel guilty or to suggest that medication is a failure. The purpose is to give you tools, options, and understanding so that you can make the best decision for your unique body. Whether that decision involves lifestyle changes alone, medication alone, or most commonly, a thoughtful combination of both. The goal is health, not purity. And the goal of this video is to equip you with information that very few doctors have the time to explain during a 15-minute appointment. So take a deep breath if you need one. Sit back if you are able, and let us walk through this together, one small step at a time. Starting with a story about someone I worked with recently. His name was Richard, and his experience illustrates everything I want you to understand about how easily we can misinterpret our own blood pressure and how simple the correction can be once we know what to look for. I want you to imagine someone we will call Richard. Richard is 62 years old. He retired about 18 months ago, and on paper, he is doing many things right. He walks his golden retriever every morning for about 20 minutes. He tries to eat what he considers a reasonably healthy diet. He has cut back on red meat. He has started eating more chicken and fish. He avoids sugary sodas and tries to drink water throughout the day. He is not someone who has ignored his health. He has shown up year after year for his annual physical. He has listened to his doctors. He has tried to follow their advice. And yet, at his most recent checkup, his blood pressure came back at 145/92. His doctor mentioned that this was a bit elevated, advised him to work on lifestyle changes, and scheduled a follow-up appointment in 3 months. Richard left that office feeling confused, slightly ashamed, and quietly worried. He had been trying. He thought he was doing enough. And now he had a number hanging over his head that suggested otherwise. Here is what Richard did next, and I want you to pay close attention because his approach is incredibly common. It is exactly what most people would do in his situation. Richard went out and bought a home blood pressure monitor. He read the instructions briefly, and then he started taking his measurements every morning. He wanted to see where he really stood outside of the stressful environment of the doctor's office. He wanted proof that his blood pressure was not as bad as that single reading had suggested. So every morning, immediately after waking up, he would walk to the bathroom, sit down on the edge of the tub, put on the cuff, and press start. He did this with genuine good intentions. He was being proactive. He was taking ownership of his health. But the numbers he saw discouraged him further. 148/90, 150/94, 142/89. Occasionally, a reading would dip slightly lower, but never into the range that his doctor had described as ideal. After about 2 weeks of this, Richard concluded that natural approaches did not work for him. He assumed his blood pressure was simply genetic, that his blood vessels were stiffening with age in a way that could not be reversed without medication, and that he might as well accept the inevitable prescription at his next appointment. I want to pause here because Richard's story reveals 3 incredibly common mistakes, and these mistakes are not his fault. No one had ever taught him otherwise. The first mistake was the timing of his measurements. Richard was measuring his blood pressure immediately after waking up, And while morning measurements have their place in certain clinical situations, for most people, the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking represent a period of natural cardiovascular transition. When you sleep, your nervous system is in a parasympathetic or rest and digest state. Your heart rate slows, your blood vessels dilate, your blood pressure typically drops by about 10 to 20%, something we call nocturnal dipping. But when you wake up, your body releases a surge of hormones including cortisol and adrenaline to prepare you for the day ahead. That surge is normal. It is healthy. It is what allows you to get out of bed and function. But it also temporarily raises your blood pressure. So if you measure yourself within minutes of opening your eyes, you are almost guaranteed to get a higher reading than your true baseline pressure later in the day. Richard was essentially measuring himself during the natural peak of his daily blood pressure cycle, and then concluding that his pressure was permanently high. The second mistake was the lack of a resting period before measurement. Richard sat down on the edge of the tub and immediately took his reading. He did not know that he needed to sit quietly for several minutes first. He did not know that the simple act of walking from his bed to the bathroom, which involves standing up, moving his muscles, and changing his posture, had activated his sympathetic nervous system. That activation does not disappear the moment you sit down. It takes time for your nervous system to settle. Without that rest period, his readings were capturing his body in a state of recent physical activity, not his body at rest. And blood pressure guidelines around the world are very clear that measurements should be taken after at least 5 minutes of quiet sitting. Richard was not following that protocol because no one had ever explained it to him. The third mistake was perhaps the most important. Richard changed only one small variable, his salt intake, while ignoring much larger and more impactful variables. He stopped salting his eggs in the morning. That was his entire intervention. He did not adjust his meal timing. He did not change his after-dinner habits. He did not experiment with his sleep position or his hydration schedule. He made one minor change, expected his blood pressure to drop significantly, and when it did not, he concluded that natural strategies were useless. This is like turning off one small light bulb in a large house and wondering why the entire building is still dark. It is not that the light bulb does not work. It is that you have not addressed the main sources of illumination. Richard was targeting a tiny contributor to his blood pressure while completely missing the larger patterns that were driving his numbers. When Richard came to see me, he was discouraged. He had already started mentally preparing himself for medication, not because he was opposed to it, but because he felt defeated by his own failed efforts. He felt that his body had let him down. I asked him if he would be willing to try a very simple experiment, something that would take less than 10 minutes and require no special equipment. He agreed, though without much enthusiasm. I asked him to sit down in a comfortable chair in my office, a chair with good back support and armrests. I asked him to place his feet flat on the floor, not crossed. I asked him to rest his arm on the desk at about the same height as his heart, and then I asked him to do nothing. I did not ask him to meditate. I did not ask him to breathe deeply or repeat a mantra. I simply asked him to sit quietly and wait. We set a timer for 3 minutes. During those 3 minutes, he did not talk. He did not look at his phone. He did not adjust his position. He just sat. When the timer went off, I took his blood pressure again. 128/84. Richard stared at the monitor. Then he looked at me. Then he looked back at the monitor. He asked if I had done something to the machine. I had not. He asked if he was having a good day. He was. He asked if this meant his blood pressure was actually normal, and I explained to him that what we had just witnessed was not magic. It was not a fluke. It was not a special technique. It was simply what happens when you allow your sympathetic nervous system to settle down. His blood pressure at rest, after 3 minutes of quiet sitting, was significantly lower than his blood pressure measured immediately after walking into a medical office and sitting down without rest. The difference was 17 points on the top number. 17 points. That is a larger drop than many blood pressure medications can achieve on their own. And Richard achieved it by doing absolutely nothing except waiting. Now, I want to be very careful here because I can already anticipate a question that might be forming in your mind. Does this mean that Richard does not have high blood pressure? Not necessarily. One normal reading after rest does not erase other elevated readings. What it means is that Richard's blood pressure is highly reactive to his nervous system state. It means that some of his elevated readings were likely due to measurement conditions rather than true vascular disease. And it means that the natural strategies most likely to help him are the ones that keep his nervous system calm throughout the day, not just during his measurements. This distinction is everything. If your blood pressure normalizes after a few minutes of rest, that tells you that your blood vessels are capable of normal pressure. It tells you that your heart is able to pump efficiently. It tells you that the issue may be more about nervous system reactivity than about permanent changes to your arteries. And that points you toward a very specific set of natural interventions, ones focused on stress patterns, sleep timing, meal pacing, and postural habits. But what if your blood pressure stays elevated even after several minutes of quiet rest? That is also incredibly useful information. That tells you that the elevation is not purely situational. It suggests that there may be more long-term factors at play, such as increased stiffness in your blood vessels, higher than ideal sodium retention, or changes in the hormonal systems that regulate blood volume. That points you toward a different set of natural strategies, ones focused on dietary patterns, hydration timing, physical activity that improves arterial compliance, and possibly a lower threshold for considering medication as a helpful tool rather than a last resort. Neither scenario is a failure. Both scenarios are data, and data is your friend. The reason I am spending so much time on Richard's story is that almost everyone watching this video has had a similar experience at some point. You have gotten a concerning reading. You have tried to monitor yourself at home. You have felt confused by fluctuating numbers. You have wondered whether natural approaches are worth the effort. Richard's story shows you that the problem is often not your blood pressure. The problem is your measurement strategy and your understanding of what actually controls that number moment to moment. Once you correct the measurement strategy, everything else becomes clearer. And once you understand the mechanism, the 5 natural steps I am about to share with you will make deep, intuitive sense. They will not feel like random advice from the internet. They will feel like logical extensions of how your own body is designed to work. So let us move now into that mechanism, because understanding it is the difference between blindly following recommendations and truly knowing why they work. So let us talk about what actually happened inside Richard's body during those 3 minutes. Not in a complicated textbook way that requires a medical degree to follow, but in a clear, practical way that you will remember and be able to use. Because once you understand this mechanism, you will never look at a blood pressure reading the same way again. And more importantly, you will know exactly which natural strategies are worth your time and which ones are unlikely to move the needle. Your body has 2 main branches of what we call the autonomic nervous system. That is the part of your nervous system that runs automatically, without you having to think about it. It controls your heart rate, your digestion, your breathing rate, your pupil size, and yes, the diameter of your blood vessels. One branch is called the sympathetic nervous system. You have probably heard it referred to as fight or flight. This is your accelerator pedal. It activates when you are under stress, when you are rushing, when you are exercising, when you are scared, when you are frustrated in traffic, when you are having a difficult conversation, and even when you simply stand up too quickly. When the sympathetic nervous system is dominant, your heart rate increases, your blood vessels narrow slightly, and your blood pressure rises. This is not a design flaw. This is a brilliant survival mechanism that has kept humans alive for hundreds of thousands of years. If you needed to run away from danger, you wanted your blood pressure to go up, so that blood could be shunted to your large muscles and your brain. If you needed to fight, you wanted that same response. So your sympathetic nervous system is protective. It is necessary. It is not your enemy. The other branch is called the parasympathetic nervous system. You have probably heard this called rest and digest. This is your brake pedal. When the parasympathetic nervous system is dominant, your heart rate slows, your blood vessels dilate or widen, and your blood pressure decreases. This is the state your body wants to be in when you are eating a meal, when you are sleeping, when you are sitting quietly with someone you trust, or when you are reading a book on a calm afternoon. In this state, your body repairs tissues, digests food efficiently, and maintains your blood vessels in a relaxed, open configuration that allows blood to flow easily without high pressure. Now here's the insight that most people never learn. Your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems are not either on or off like a light switch. They exist on a spectrum, a constant dance of balance and imbalance. Throughout your day, you shift back and forth between these two states dozens or even hundreds of times, and your blood pressure shifts with you. When you are mildly stressed, your sympathetic tone increases just a little bit, and your blood pressure rises just a little bit. When you are truly relaxed, your parasympathetic tone increases, and your blood pressure drops. This is completely normal. This is how a healthy nervous system operates. The problem is that many of us, especially as we move through midlife and beyond, spend far too much time in a state of mild sympathetic activation. We are not having full fight or flight responses. We are not running from predators, but we are rushing, worrying, multitasking, sleeping poorly, eating on the go, and rarely giving our nervous system a chance to fully settle. This low-grade, chronic sympathetic activation keeps our blood pressure slightly elevated for hours or even days at a time. And when we finally sit down to measure our blood pressure, we often do so without giving our nervous system the time it needs to transition from that activated state to a true resting state. This is where the 3-minute rule comes from. Research has shown that it takes approximately 3 minutes of quiet sitting with no talking, no phone scrolling, no television watching, and no active relaxation techniques for the sympathetic nervous system to decrease its activity and for the parasympathetic nervous system to increase its activity to a stable, resting level. You do not have to do anything special during those 3 minutes. You do not have to breathe in any particular pattern. You do not have to visualize a peaceful beach. You simply have to sit still and wait. Your body knows what to do. It has been doing this since before you were born. You just have to give it the time it needs. Let me give you a concrete example of how this works in real life. Imagine you have been driving home from work in moderate traffic. You are not in a road rage situation, but you are paying attention, making decisions, reacting to brake lights, and thinking about what you need to do when you get home. Your sympathetic nervous system is mildly activated. Your blood pressure is maybe 5 to 10 points higher than your true resting baseline. You arrive home, walk inside, and sit down on the couch. If you immediately take your blood pressure, you will get a reading that reflects that driving activation. But if you sit quietly for 3 minutes, your nervous system will start to downshift. Your heart rate will slow, your blood vessels will begin to dilate, and your blood pressure will drop to its true resting level. That drop is not a treatment. It is not fixing anything long-term. It is simply allowing your body to show you its actual baseline, free from the temporary influence of recent activity. This is why I tell all of my patients that the most important natural blood pressure intervention is not a supplement or a special diet. It is learning how to measure accurately. Because if you do not have an accurate baseline, you cannot know whether any other intervention is actually working. You might start a new walking routine. Measure yourself immediately after sitting down without resting. See a high number and conclude that the walking is not helping. But the high number might simply be because you did not rest before measuring. You might reduce your salt intake for 2 weeks. Measure yourself first thing in the morning when your natural morning surge is peaking. See no change and conclude that salt was never the issue. But the morning surge might be hiding a real improvement that would show up clearly if you measured at a different time of day. Accurate measurement is not a luxury. It is the foundation. Without it, you are navigating in the dark. Now let me take this a step further, because the mechanism I just described has implications that go far beyond how you take a reading. If your blood pressure is reactive to your nervous system state, and it is, then the natural strategies that will help you the most are the ones that reduce unnecessary sympathetic activation throughout your day, not just during the 3 minutes before you measure. This shifts the entire conversation around natural blood pressure management. It is not about finding the one perfect food or the one perfect exercise. It is about identifying the hidden sources of nervous system activation in your daily routine and gently reducing them where you can. For example, let us talk about meal timing. When you eat a large meal, your body directs blood flow toward your digestive system. This is normal. But in response, your heart rate increases slightly, and your blood vessels in other parts of your body constrict to maintain adequate blood flow to your brain. This is a sympathetic response. It is temporary. But if you eat a large meal and then immediately lie down on the couch or sit in a recliner for the rest of the evening, that constriction can persist longer than it should. A gentle 10-minute walk after dinner, not vigorous, just a slow stroll around your neighborhood or even inside your home, helps your blood vessels dilate back to baseline more quickly. This is not about burning calories. It is about giving your nervous system a gentle cue to downshift. That simple after-dinner walk has been shown in multiple clinical studies to lower evening blood pressure by an average of 4 to 5 points. No medication, no special diet, just a short walk at the right time of day. Let me give you another example. The position of your body while you sleep matters more than most people realize. When you sleep flat on your back, the fluid balance signals from your kidneys are different than when you sleep on your side. For some people, particularly those with salt-sensitive blood pressure, side sleeping improves the natural overnight dipping of blood pressure. For others, elevating the head of the bed slightly, by about 6 inches, changes how the body processes fluids and can reduce morning blood pressure spikes. I am not telling you that there is one correct sleeping position for everyone. I am telling you that this is a variable you can experiment with. Keep a simple log for 1 week. Sleep on your back for 2 nights and record your morning readings. Sleep on your side for 2 nights and record your morning readings. Notice the pattern. Your body will tell you what it prefers. And here is the example that surprises people the most. The single most effective natural blood pressure intervention for people over 50, according to large longitudinal studies, is not diet and it is not exercise. It is consistent sleep timing. Going to bed within the same 30-minute window every night and waking up at the same time every morning, including weekends and holidays, has been shown to lower average blood pressure more than reducing sodium intake in many individuals. Why would that be? Because an irregular sleep schedule fragments your autonomic nervous system. Your body never fully knows whether to be in rest and digest mode or fight or flight mode. That chronic ambiguity keeps your sympathetic nervous system mildly activated around the clock. Your baseline pressure creeps up. Regular sleep timing signals to your body that safety is predictable. Your nervous system can relax. Your blood vessels respond by staying open and flexible. This is not alternative medicine. This is basic physiology, and it is free. So let me bring this back to Richard. When Richard understood that his blood pressure was highly reactive to his nervous system state, everything changed for him. He stopped blaming his arteries. He stopped feeling like a failure. He started experimenting with small adjustments to his daily rhythm, rather than searching for a single magic bullet. He started measuring his blood pressure correctly, after 3 minutes of rest, in the late morning rather than immediately after waking. And guess what happened over the following month? His average readings came down from the 140s to the 130s, and on many days into the 120s. He did not add any extreme exercise. He did not go on a restrictive diet. He simply aligned his habits with his physiology. That is what natural blood pressure management actually looks like. It is not about doing more. It is often about doing less, but doing it at the right time and in the right way. And that is the foundation upon which the 5 steps are built. Now that we have laid that foundation, let me walk you through the 5 steps themselves. But before I do, I want to give you a gentle warning about how to think about these steps. They are not commandments carved into stone. They are experiments. They are invitations to observe your own body with curiosity rather than judgment. And they are designed to work together, not in isolation. The mistake most people make when they hear about natural blood pressure strategies is that they try to implement everything at once. They feel overwhelmed. They abandon the effort entirely within a week or two, and then they conclude that natural approaches are too difficult. That is not what I am asking you to do. I am asking you to pick one step, just one. Try it for 1 week. Measure your blood pressure correctly, after 3 minutes of rest, at the same time each day, and see what changes. Then add a second step, then a third. Let the data guide you. Let your own experience be your teacher, because the best blood pressure plan is not the one that works for someone else. It is the one that works for you, in your body, with your unique patterns and your unique life. So here is step 1, and it is the most important step of all. Stop measuring your blood pressure the way most people do. I want you to change your measurement protocol completely for the next 2 weeks. First, choose a consistent time of day to measure. Late morning between 9 and 11 is often ideal because it avoids the natural morning surge and comes before the accumulated stress of the afternoon. Second, make sure your bladder is empty. A full bladder can raise your systolic pressure by 10 to 15 points. Third, sit down in a comfortable chair with good back support. Place your feet flat on the floor. Do not cross your legs. Rest your arm on a table or desk so that the cuff is at the same height as your heart. Then sit quietly for 3 full minutes. No talking, no phone, no television, no deep breathing exercises. Just sit. After 3 minutes, take your reading. Then wait 1 more minute and take a second reading. Average the 2 numbers. That average is your true resting blood pressure. Do this every day for 2 weeks at the same time. Do not change anything else about your routine. Just measure correctly. You will likely notice something surprising. Your numbers will likely be lower than what you have been seeing. But more importantly, you will have established a reliable baseline. And without a reliable baseline, every other step is guesswork. So step 1 is not about lowering your blood pressure. Step 1 is about seeing it clearly for the first time. Step 2 is about what happens after your evening meal. This is one of my favorite recommendations because it is simple. It requires no willpower, and it works through a mechanism that most people find deeply satisfying to understand. Within 30 minutes of finishing your dinner, I want you to go for a 10-minute walk. That is it. 10 minutes, not 30, not an hour. 10 minutes. You do not need to walk fast. You do not need to break a sweat. You just need to move your body gently. Why does this work? When you eat a meal, blood rushes to your digestive system. Your heart rate increases slightly, and your blood vessels in your arms, legs, and other non-digestive areas constrict to maintain blood flow to your brain. This is a normal sympathetic response. It is temporary. But if you sit or lie down immediately after eating, that constriction can linger. A gentle walk sends a signal to your nervous system that you are not in danger, that you are not being chased, that it is safe to downshift into a parasympathetic state. Your blood vessels dilate, your heart rate settles, and your blood pressure returns to baseline more quickly. Research has shown that this simple after-dinner walk can lower evening blood pressure by an average of 4 to 5 points compared to sitting or lying down after a meal. 4 to 5 points is not trivial. That is the difference between being in a hypertensive range and being in a pre-hypertensive range for many people. And it costs you nothing except 10 minutes of your evening. Step 3 addresses something that almost no one talks about in natural blood pressure conversations, and that is fluid timing. Most people with high blood pressure are told to drink more water, and in general, that is good advice. Proper hydration supports healthy blood volume and helps your kidneys filter sodium efficiently. But timing matters as much as volume. If you drink large amounts of water right before bed, you are forcing your kidneys to work through the night. Your body has to process that fluid. You may need to wake up to use the bathroom, which fragments your sleep. And fragmented sleep, as we have already discussed, keeps your sympathetic nervous system activated. Your morning blood pressure may actually be higher, not lower, because of that late night water. So here is what I recommend instead. Front load your hydration. Drink most of your water between the time you wake up and late afternoon. Aim for consistent sips throughout the day, rather than large volumes all at once. After 7 in the evening, or about 2 to 3 hours before you plan to go to sleep, shift to drinking only when you feel thirsty. Do not force fluids. Do not restrict fluids aggressively either. Just allow your natural thirst to guide you. This simple adjustment allows your kidneys to process fluids during your active hours and gives your body a lighter fluid load during sleep. Many people who make this change report not only better morning blood pressure readings, but also deeper, less interrupted sleep. And better sleep, as we have already established, is one of the most powerful natural blood pressure tools available to you. Step 4 is something I call the 1-minute morning pause, and I want you to practice this starting tomorrow morning. When you wake up, do not jump out of bed immediately. Do not rush to the bathroom to take your blood pressure. Instead, I want you to stay in bed for 1 minute. Stretch your feet. Point your toes toward your head and then away. Wiggle your fingers. Take 2 or 3 slow, ordinary breaths. Then, sit up at the edge of the bed. Stay there for 30 seconds. Let your body adjust to being upright. Then, stand up slowly. Why does this matter? When you change position from lying down to standing, gravity pulls blood toward your legs. Your body responds by constricting your blood vessels slightly and increasing your heart rate to maintain blood flow to your brain. This is called the baroreceptor reflex, and it is completely normal. But if you stand up too quickly, especially in the morning when your blood volume is slightly lower because you have not been drinking overnight, your body can overcorrect. You might get a brief drop in blood pressure followed by a surge as your body tries to compensate. That surge can elevate your blood pressure for the next 30 to 60 minutes. And if you measure during that window, you will get a reading that looks much higher than your true baseline. The 1-minute morning pause allows your nervous system to transition from sleep to wakefulness gradually rather than abruptly. It is not a meditation technique. It is not about relaxation. It is simply about giving your body the time it needs to adjust to gravity. This one small change has helped countless patients of mine see morning readings that are 5 to 10 points lower, not because they fixed anything permanent, but because they stopped measuring during a temporary physiological surge. Step 5 is the one that requires the most discipline, but it is also the one with the strongest evidence behind it: consistent sleep timing. I want you to choose a bedtime and a wake time, any times that work for your schedule. And then I want you to stick to those times within 30 minutes every single day, including weekends and holidays. If you go to bed at 10:30 on weeknights, try to go to bed between 10 and 11 on weekends. If you wake up at 6:30 on work days, try to wake up between 6 and 7 on your days off. That 30-minute window is your buffer. It allows for normal variation without fragmenting your nervous system. Why is this so powerful? Your body has an internal clock, a circadian rhythm, that coordinates hundreds of biological processes, including blood pressure regulation. When you go to bed and wake up at consistent times, that internal clock can set itself reliably. Your body knows when to release melatonin for sleep. It knows when to release cortisol for wakefulness. And importantly, it knows when to lower your blood pressure during sleep and raise it gently in the morning. When your sleep schedule is irregular, that internal clock becomes confused. Your body releases stress hormones at inconsistent times. Your sympathetic nervous system stays mildly activated even when you are in bed. Your blood pressure does not dip as deeply at night, and it surges more sharply in the morning. Over time, this pattern raises your average blood pressure significantly. In fact, large studies have shown that irregular sleep timing is associated with an average increase in systolic blood pressure of 7 to 10 points compared to regular sleep timing. That is a larger effect than many single blood pressure medications, and it is completely free. It does not require a prescription. It does not require willpower after the first few weeks. It simply requires treating your sleep schedule as the medical intervention that it actually is. Now let me pause here because I want to address something that might be on your mind. You might be thinking that these steps sound almost too simple. Where is the special supplement? Where is the exotic herb? Where is the complicated breathing routine that requires 10 minutes of focused attention? I understand that impulse. We have been trained to believe that powerful health interventions must be complex, expensive, or difficult. But the truth is often the opposite. The most powerful interventions are usually the ones that work with your body's existing design, rather than against it. Your body already knows how to regulate blood pressure. It has been doing so since the day you were born. These 5 steps are not about teaching your body something new. They are about removing the obstacles that prevent your body from doing what it already knows how to do. Accurate measurement removes the obstacle of misleading data. The after-dinner walk removes the obstacle of post-meal vessel constriction. Fluid timing removes the obstacle of nocturnal kidney strain. The morning pause removes the obstacle of postural surges. And consistent sleep timing removes the obstacle of circadian confusion. That is it. That is natural blood pressure management. It is not about adding, it is about subtracting the interference. Before we move to the final reflection, I want to share 3 deeper insights that most people miss, even after they have learned the 5 steps. These insights are the difference between someone who follows recommendations mechanically and someone who truly understands their own body. These insights are what turn blood pressure from a source of anxiety into a source of useful information. And these insights are what allow you to customize these steps to your unique life, rather than feeling like you are forcing yourself into a generic plan that was not designed for you. The first insight is about the relationship between your blood pressure and your digestion. This is something that almost no one talks about, and yet it is happening inside your body every single day. When you eat, your digestive system requires a significant amount of blood flow to break down food, absorb nutrients, and move waste through your intestines. Your body responds to this demand by increasing your heart rate slightly and by constricting blood vessels in your arms, legs, and other non-digestive areas. This is a normal sympathetic response. It is temporary. But here is what most people do not realize. The size of that response depends heavily on what you eat and how much you eat. A very large meal, particularly one that is high in refined carbohydrates or unhealthy fats, creates a much larger digestive demand than a smaller, balanced meal. That larger demand leads to a larger sympathetic response, which leads to a longer-lasting elevation in blood pressure after eating. This is why people who eat one very large meal in the evening often have higher blood pressure readings the next morning, compared to people who eat smaller, more balanced meals throughout the day. It is not about calories. It is not about weight loss. It is about the physiological cost of digestion itself. So here is the practical takeaway. If you notice that your evening blood pressure readings are consistently higher after certain meals, pay attention to portion size. Try eating a slightly smaller dinner, and if you are hungry later, having a very light snack about an hour before bed, something like a small piece of fruit or a handful of almonds. This spreads the digestive load across a longer period and reduces the post-meal sympathetic surge. This is not a diet, this is digestive physiology, and it works. The second insight is about the hidden role of your breath. I am not going to tell you to start a complicated breathing practice. I am not going to ask you to meditate for 20 minutes a day. But I want you to notice something about your breathing patterns throughout the day. When your sympathetic nervous system is activated, your breathing tends to become shallower and more rapid. It stays in the upper part of your chest. Your exhales become shorter. This is an automatic response. You do not decide to breathe this way. Your body does it on its own. The problem is that shallow, rapid breathing itself feeds back into your nervous system and keeps your sympathetic activation going. It becomes a cycle. You are stressed, so you breathe shallowly. You breathe shallowly, so your body stays stressed. Here is the insight that changes this cycle. Your exhale is directly connected to your parasympathetic nervous system. When you lengthen your exhale, even slightly, you send a direct signal to your body that it is safe to downshift. You do not need to do formal breathing exercises. You do not need to sit cross-legged on a cushion. You simply need to notice a few times a day whether your exhale is very short, and if it is, you can gently lengthen it. Breathe in for a count of 4. Breathe out for a count of 6. That is it. One slightly longer exhale. Do this 3 times. You will likely feel a very subtle shift. Your shoulders might drop slightly. Your jaw might relax. Your heart rate might slow by a beat or 2. These are not placebo effects. These are measurable physiological responses. And when you do this before measuring your blood pressure, during the 3-minute rest period, you are not cheating the measurement. You are helping your body show you its true resting state. This is not about controlling your blood pressure through willpower. It is about removing the respiratory obstacle that keeps your nervous system stuck in a sympathetic pattern. The third insight is the most important one, and I want you to sit with it for a moment. Your blood pressure is not a moral score. It is not a grade on a test. It is not a reflection of your worth as a person. And yet, so many people treat it that way. They get a high reading and they feel ashamed. They feel like they have failed. They feel like their body has betrayed them. They hide their readings from their family. They avoid checking their blood pressure because they do not want to see the number. This emotional response is completely understandable, but it is also counterproductive. When you feel ashamed about your blood pressure, your sympathetic nervous system activates. Your blood pressure rises. You then measure again, see an even higher number, feel more ashamed, and the cycle continues. You are literally raising your blood pressure by worrying about your blood pressure. The solution is not to stop caring. The solution is to change your relationship with the number. Your blood pressure is data. That is all it is. It is information that helps you make better decisions. A high reading does not mean you are a bad person. It means, at that moment, under those conditions, your blood vessels were narrower than ideal. That is it. That is all it means. When you can look at a high reading with curiosity rather than fear, you free yourself from the shame cycle. You ask yourself useful questions instead of punishing yourself. What was I doing before this reading? Had I just eaten? Had I just rushed up the stairs? Had I been sitting with my legs crossed? Did I rest before measuring? These are the questions of someone who sees blood pressure as information. And information is always useful. Shame is never useful. Let me give you an example of how this works in real life. One of my patients, a woman in her late 50s, came to me convinced that her blood pressure was uncontrollable. She had been measuring at home for months, and her readings were consistently in the 150s over mid-90s. She had tried everything she could think of. She had cut salt, she had started walking, she had even tried an online meditation program. Nothing seemed to work. She was frustrated, embarrassed, and beginning to feel hopeless. When I asked her to describe exactly how she measured her blood pressure, she told me that she always measured first thing in the morning, immediately after waking up, while sitting on the edge of her bed. She did not rest before measuring because she did not know she needed to. She had never been told. We changed one thing, just one. We added the 3-minute rest period before measuring. We kept everything else exactly the same. 1 week later, she sent me a message. Her average morning reading had dropped by 12 points on the top number and 8 points on the bottom number. She had not changed her diet. She had not started a new exercise program. She had not taken any supplements. She had simply sat quietly for 3 minutes before pressing start. That was it. Her blood pressure had not actually changed. Her measurement accuracy had changed. And that accurate measurement showed her that her true resting blood pressure was significantly lower than what she had been seeing for months. The relief in her voice was palpable. She had been carrying around this weight, this sense of failure, for no reason. Her body was fine. Her measurement protocol was the problem. I share this story not to suggest that everyone's blood pressure will normalize with better measurement. That is not true. Some people have genuinely elevated blood pressure that requires more intensive intervention, including medication, and that is perfectly fine. There is no prize for avoiding medication. There is only the goal of protecting your heart, your brain, your kidneys, and your blood vessels over the long term. But for many people, maybe even most people who are watching this video, some portion of their elevated readings is due to measurement error, nervous system activation, or daily habits that can be adjusted. And those people deserve to know that. They deserve to have accurate information about their own bodies so that they can make informed decisions. They should not have to live with unnecessary anxiety or pursue unnecessary treatments because no one took the time to explain how blood pressure actually works in the human body. So let me bring these 3 insights together into a single practical recommendation. For the next 2 weeks, I want you to treat blood pressure as an experiment rather than a problem. Measure correctly after 3 minutes of rest at the same time each day. Keep a simple log. Write down your reading and also write down 3 things. What did you eat for dinner last night? What time did you go to bed and wake up? And how did you feel when you sat down to measure? Rushed, calm, or somewhere in between? After 2 weeks, look back at your log. You will almost certainly see patterns. You will see that your readings are lower on days after you slept well, and higher on days after your sleep was fragmented. You will see that your readings are lower when you measured after a calm morning, and higher when you measured after rushing. You will see that your evening readings are lower on nights when you took that 10-minute after dinner walk, and higher on nights when you sat or lay down immediately after eating. These patterns are not random. They are the language of your nervous system speaking to you. And once you learn to read that language, you no longer need anyone to tell you what to do. Your body will tell you. You will know that a late-night snack raises your morning reading, so you will decide whether that snack is worth it to you. You will know that skipping your after-dinner walk raises your evening reading, so you will prioritize that 10 minutes. You will know that inconsistent sleep timing confuses your nervous system, so you will protect your bedtime. This is not about following rules. This is about knowing yourself. And knowing yourself is the foundation of all good preventive medicine. So let us step back now and look at the full picture. Let us take everything we have discussed, the 3-minute resting window, the sympathetic nervous system, the 5 steps, the 3 deeper insights, and let us weave them into a calm, practical understanding that you can carry with you long after this video ends. Because the truth is, blood pressure is not really about blood pressure. It is about something much larger. It is about how you inhabit your body throughout the day. It is about the gap between what your nervous system experiences and what your conscious mind notices. It is about the small, almost invisible choices that accumulate into either resilience or vulnerability over the course of years and decades. I want you to think about your blood pressure not as a problem to be solved, but as a conversation to be understood. Every time you measure, you are asking your body a question. How are you doing right now, in this moment, under these conditions? And your body gives you an answer in the form of a number. That number is not good or bad. It is simply honest. The question is whether you are asking the question correctly. If you ask while rushing, while your bladder is full, while your legs are crossed, while you have just finished a difficult phone call, you will get an answer that reflects those conditions. That answer is still honest. It is just not the answer to the question you thought you were asking. You thought you were asking about your baseline cardiovascular health, but what you were really asking was about your blood pressure under temporary stress. That is a completely different question, and it requires a completely different interpretation. This is why the 3-minute rest period is not a trick, and it is not cheating. It is a tool that allows you to ask the right question. When you sit quietly for 3 minutes before measuring, you are not manipulating the result. You are removing the temporary influences so that your baseline can speak clearly. You are creating a controlled condition so that you can compare today's baseline to yesterday's baseline and next month's baseline. Without that controlled condition, you are comparing apples to oranges and wondering why the numbers do not make sense. So if you take only one thing away from this entire video, let it be this: measure correctly. Rest before you press start. Do it at the same time each day. Keep a log. That single practice will give you more useful information about your cardiovascular health than any supplement, any diet, or any exercise program. Because information is power, and without accurate information, you are flying blind. Now let me address something that I have not yet said explicitly. Natural approaches to blood pressure management work best when your blood pressure is mildly to moderately elevated, what doctors call stage 1 hypertension, and when there is no evidence of target organ damage. If your blood pressure is very high, consistently above 160/100, or if you already have heart disease, kidney disease, or a history of stroke, natural approaches are not a substitute for medical evaluation and likely medication. That is not a failure, that is wisdom. Medication saves lives. It prevents heart attacks, it prevents strokes, it preserves kidney function, and it does all of this very effectively when used appropriately. The goal of natural strategies is not to avoid medication at all costs. The goal of natural strategies is to give you options, to allow you to use as little medication as possible while still achieving excellent blood pressure control, and to address the underlying lifestyle and nervous system patterns that medication does not fix. Most of my patients who take blood pressure medication also benefit enormously from these natural steps. They often find that they need lower doses. They often find that their blood pressure is more stable throughout the day. They often find that they feel better overall, with more energy and fewer side effects. Natural and medical are not opposites, they are partners. And the best approach for almost everyone is some thoughtful combination of both. I also want to say something about time. One of the most common frustrations I hear from patients is that natural approaches do not work quickly enough. They try an after-dinner walk for 3 days, do not see an immediate drop, and conclude that it does not work for them. But here is the truth about blood pressure. It is a slow-moving variable. It changes over weeks and months, not hours and days. The benefits of consistent sleep timing, of regular walking, of accurate measurement, of nervous system awareness, these benefits accumulate gradually. You may not notice a difference in the first week. You may not even notice a difference in the second week. But after a month, you will look back at your log and see that your average systolic pressure has dropped by 4 or 5 points. After 3 months, by 8 or 10 points. After a year, you may have achieved a reduction that rivals what a low-dose medication could achieve, but with no side effects, and with additional benefits to your mood, your energy, your sleep, and your overall sense of well-being. That is the power of patience. That is the power of consistency. That is the power of working with your body rather than against it. Let me leave you with a final image. Imagine your blood vessels as a garden hose. When your sympathetic nervous system is activated, it is as if someone has stepped on the hose. The water pressure inside rises. When your parasympathetic nervous system is dominant, it is as if that foot has been lifted. The hose is open. The water flows easily. The pressure drops. The 5 steps we have discussed are not about replacing the hose or changing the water. They are about noticing where the foot is, the hidden sources of pressure in your daily life, and gently, consistently lifting it where you can. You cannot lift every foot. Life will always have stressors. You will always have moments of rushing, frustration, and activation. That is normal. That is human. But you can lift many of them. You can sit quietly before measuring. You can walk gently after dinner. You can time your fluids. You can pause in the morning. You can protect your sleep schedule. None of these require perfection. None of these require heroism. They only require awareness and small, sustainable choices repeated over time. And that, more than anything else, is what I hope you take away from this video. You are not powerless over your blood pressure. You are not a victim of your genetics or your age. You have more influence than you probably realize. But that influence does not come from willpower or discipline or suffering. It comes from understanding. It comes from aligning your daily habits with your biology. It comes from treating your body not as a machine that is constantly breaking down, but as an intelligent system that knows how to regulate itself when you get out of its way. Your body wants your blood pressure to be normal. Your body wants your blood vessels to be flexible. Your body wants you to be healthy. The question is whether your habits are supporting that natural intelligence or interfering with it. The 5 steps we have discussed are not about forcing your body to do something it does not want to do. They are about removing the interference so that your body can do what it already knows how to do. That is the deepest insight of all. And it applies to far more than blood pressure. It applies to almost every aspect of preventive medicine. Thank you for spending this time with me. I know that conversations about blood pressure can feel heavy, medical, and clinical. I have tried to offer you something different, a conversation that is calm, curious, and grounded in how your body actually works. If you found this helpful, I would be honored to have you join our community here at HealthWise with Dr. Narges. There is so much more to explore together. How to think about cholesterol in a way that is nuanced and evidence-based. How to understand your own risk for heart disease without falling into fear or denial. How to make thoughtful medical decisions about prevention, screening, and treatment. These are the conversations that matter, and they are the conversations we will continue to have. So if you have not already, consider subscribing, not because algorithms tell you to, but because you want to stay curious about your health. And because the best way to navigate the confusing world of medical information is to have a calm, credible guide who respects your intelligence and your body. I will see you in the next video. Until then, be curious, be patient, and remember that 3 minutes of quiet sitting might be the most powerful medicine you take today.